Welcome to Partner News, Mr. Jayatilake. Now, how important is ecotourism to a country such as ours?
I think in a country where His Excellency the President's vision is to have 2.5 million tourists by 2016, ecotourism adds a very essential element. It's a niche market and it's a hugely growing market, and it's time that Sri Lanka started showcasing its very vibrant natural world to this very attractive, lucrative and a very high-paying market which is useful for the country.
How important is it that Sri Lanka follows the path of conservation, as this is what will bring more tourists into the country?
That's a very key question, and I'm very glad you asked that, because wildlife and nature-based tourism is very important for the country, but we should always remember that we shouldn't put any unnecessary stress into these very sensitive habitats. So you need to have the controls, the guidelines all in place. It's like when 5 years ago blue whale watching was launched, and now we are very glad that the ministry is bringing in the guidelines. Similar guidelines and strict enforcement of basic regulations have to be the utmost importance, so that when the industry rises, it will be well regulated from the start when the upward curve begins, and that no undue stress will be channeled towards sensitive habitats. The key is sustainability. Look at Costa Rica, countries which are thriving with ecotourism. The absolute essential key is that they have maintained and held on to that sustainability, which is your success. So that's a very good example for us to follow.
At the beginning of this year, JKH was involved in a project along with 2 other companies in donating running fuel for a wildlife department jeep in the Yala Reserve. Now, what other initiatives do you all have in the pipeline?
The donating of a petrol jeep for the park was a joint effort between DEMOS, John Keells, Cinnamon Wild, and EFL. DEMOS very kindly gave the jeep, and we've given fuel for several years. That's one of the efforts. Then we are also in the meantime doing Project Leopard, which is helping a little friction some of the cattle farmers may have with the cats living outside the park. And that's a very large effort which we are doing with our partners in UK. I'm happy to announce that so far we've given 40 of these pens, and we will take it up to 50 in the near future. I'm also working on another project to study the leopards, and that's again funds raised by John Keells Foundation, Cinnamon Wild, and our friends in London, that is Jonathan and Angela Scott. And the funds have been channeled through the Environmental Foundation with experts such as Rukshan Jawardhan and Vimukti Veeratunga to conduct this research study with approval from the Department of Wildlife. And a 15-month study, a groundbreaking one based on camera traps, is now in its 7th month and continuing.
Taking into account the recent events at the Yala Reserve where a firearm was discharged inside the park, what can companies such as yours do to educate people on the do's and don'ts inside a wildlife reserve?
I think a lot of efforts have been made. The Sri Lanka Hotels Association have done a lot of work, led by Mr. Srilal Mithapala. We've all helped. I know John Keells and Jetwing has taken the lead here. Mrs. Shiramal Kure has been in touch with me, and my boss, Mrs. Sunimal Senanayaka, and there have been a very colorful and an attractive poster done, and hundreds of these posters have been printed to be donated to the park and all accommodation facilities in the area to give some kind of information of the basic do's and the don'ts. That incident where the firearm was discharged is unfortunate, but I hope and we are hopeful that the department will take the necessary action in the Yala warden's purview and ensure that that elephant is safe and also the guests are safe.
In terms of ecotourism, what is the policy that your company follows?
To Cinnamon Nature Trails and John Keells Hotels, Cinnamon Hotels, for us it's an amazingly important part of our drive. We are going on a slogan of our own. Africa is special. The diversity there is tremendous. But we are marketing Sri Lanka and her natural wealth with a tagline to say, Sri Lanka, the next best thing to Africa. And that's a vision we have. And we will forge ahead with all responsible tourists and other partners.